Coming up on River City Presents is founder of Empty Bowls Paducah and local artist Michael Terra. Welcome to River City Presents. I'm Daniel Hurt. Joining me on the program today is Michael Terra, who will be talking with us about Empty Bowls Paducah and maybe some of his art background. Welcome to the show, Chief Instigator Michael Terra.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
I appreciate your friendship. I've known you for quite some time now. We've had a few ruckuses ourselves back in the day.
I'm going to say it's been maybe 12 years.
That really could be. That's very possibly.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about Empty Bowls, which I understand happens every August. But first, let's get into sort of your relationship with Empty Bowls. How did you find out about it to bring it to Paducah?
So I've been working in clay for a really long time, and in the decades long time. And when we lived on the East Coast in Saratoga Springs, New York, there was an Empty Bowls project in Troy, New York. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had never heard of it. And so I took my wife and two daughters at the time down to Troy, and we bought a ticket and we chose a bowl, and theirs was very simple. It was just simple soup and a piece of bread. That was it. But in talking to the people that originated that project, I learned about a fellow named John Hardum.
Yeah, he's a teacher, right?
He is. He was a teacher in the Midwest. He and his wife and adult children decided to start this project almost 30 years ago now.
Wow, it's been around that long.
It has. So I ended up tracking him down and having lots of conversations with him. And at the point where we were living in Saratoga Springs and before we moved here, I started participating as a bowl maker for a bunch of different Empty Bowls projects. And I would run into someone at a clay conference. They actually have clay conferences. People come from
That's
all over
pretty
the world.
cool, though, right?
Like 5,000 people come. We talk about clay. But a lot of those people are doing projects like this. So for example, this year I sent boxes of bowls from Paducah to Wisconsin, to Texas, to Colorado, California, Rhode Island, New York, Georgia,
Wow.
and Alabama.
So there are a bunch of these. I think there's maybe the misunderstanding locally, maybe that it's just a local thing, but you're part of a larger national effort, right?
You're right and you're wrong.
Okay.
Because the Empty Bowls is the most marvelously unstructured thing ever. There's only two rules that you have to follow if you're going to call yourself an Empty Bowls project. Number one, all of the proceeds from whatever your project is has to serve your local community. If you're going to call it an Empty Bowls project, you can't do the thing and then send your money to the starving people in India.
Right.
You can call it something else, but if it leaves your community, then it's no longer an official Empty Bowls project. The other thing that makes it an Empty Bowls project is that the bowls are individually handcrafted.
Yeah.
So,
and you make them on site or in town, right? They're locally made too.
Yeah, except for my friends that sometimes send me bowls. So here's the way they've structured it. Those are the only two rules that you need to follow to be an Empty Bowls project. Other than that, every single project is its absolute own thing. And some people structure their projects to emulate the scarcity of food. So you get a shallow bowl with a little bit of soup and a crust of bread and water. And others demonstrate the fact that there's always enough to share, that we have such richness in our communities that you can be generous and not be diminished by being generous. So when we created the Empty Bowls project here, I went and spoke to 22 other cities that had projects, kind of developed a menu for myself, and then started talking with people locally about how do we want to represent when we put this together
And make it our own.
and make it our own creation.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask so it's designed to fight food insecurity, basically, obviously based on what you just said, you know, the concept of not having enough, but then the idea of we can have bounty. How did you decide which nonprofit or which charity group to donate the money to for this?
Homework. I did homework. I love to do homework.
Well, I had some I could have given you over the years.
Yeah. That homework I was not so good at. But the question in my mind initially was which organization, which local organization here has the largest service base? If we put money here, how can we serve the most people?
How big is reach? Yeah, sure.
Get the most reach. And also part of that is when you donate to a nonprofit, how much of that money is absorbed in administration costs and infrastructure costs and things like that. And so after doing a little bit of homework locally, I decided on the community kitchen would be a great candidate. Now, you don't just go and say, I'm doing this.
Right.
That's not how we do it when we're grown-ups. So I remember it was in the fall. It was a miserable, sort of rainy, early November day. Mm-hmm. I'd been working in the studio. My wife Victoria and I had really kind of narrowed it down. And I looked at my watch and I said, well, you know what? I think they're still open. It's the end of their day. So this would be a good time to go and check in with them. So I got on my crappy little bicycle and I rode in, and Sally Michelson, who kind of is the head of the community kitchen, loves to tell this story. She says, this guy shows up on a bicycle, and we'd already closed the kitchen for the day. But he shows up at the office door, and he leans this ratty bicycle, and he comes in, and he's in a paint-covered hoodie, and he's, dirty dungarees and old sneakers.
Just looking crazy.
And she said, immediately my mind was, well, I bet I can find something to put on a plate for this guy.
Yeah.
He's late, but. And then I said to them, hey, I'm going to start an Empty Bowls project. Can we donate the money to you? And her jaw dropped because apparently she had heard about Empty Bowls projects years ago.
So she's already aware of it.
She was totally aware of it.
That's
She
cool.
was looking for some way to start one locally. And here is this guy that she was ready to feed, rolling up saying, I've got this figured out. Would you like the money?
Oh man, it was like it was meant to be that way. You were like the guy showing up, sort of made it right.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. So who all works with you on the project? I know you all do an annual fundraiser, big deal. Who all works with you to put that together?
Well, there's a team. There is a core team that super generous, wonderful friends. Merle Pashadag is a buddy of mine, and I've roped him into so many
Oh,
things.
I know Merle from GPS Recycling. We used to do that at our Arctic concerts.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got Merle on board. My wife Victoria has been a principal instigator. Amazing input. This year we've got Tamara Tracy and Mary Byrne. We've got Grace Martin and Deb Lyons and Johanna Rhodes.
Yeah.
And Alan Rhodes helps us all the time. And Siobhan and Hillary and Angie Brevard.
The list goes on, man. You got a
and-
lot of support there.
And we do. And the way we self-manage is I put all of the leaves in our dining room table, and we meet usually in the evening after work and before dinner, And I always have a big pot of coffee and a big plate of cookies. And we start around the circle. And what are you working on? How can we help? What are you working on? How can we? And so we kind of group solve the issues for each person, because everybody's got their special area of expertise. And I kind of moderate the meeting. And then I kind of wrap it up and give it a little direction for the next month or week, whatever our period of time is. And
So you sort of manage, and you know where everybody sort of knows where they're best fit and how they can help each other. So it sort of flows really well. Then it sounds like
it does.
Well, let's talk about. And I always thought this was cool. I've been going to these for as long as I can remember, years doing them. The bowls themselves. So talk about how y'all make the bowls. Because they're all unique and different. I've got a set of them that are like, I've got a blue one, a red one, all kinds of different stuff.
After doing this here for a dozen years, I get to hear about how people are handling their bowls. And a fellow who is a principal with a radio station here is there every year without fail. He and his wife each get a bowl. Now they're getting a bowl for their new child. And I said, you must have a huge cabinet.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, no. What we do is when we get them home, we glue a hanger on the back of them. He says, my living room wall is stunning because we have this constellation.
Oh, that's so cool.
Of all of these unique bowls. And I'm thinking, a decorating genius. Who knew he was a decorating genius?
I wouldn't have thought of that, but that's
No.
a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, anyway, so I hear stories like this. People are doing great things with them. So about the bowls. Some of my far-flung professional bowl-making friends will send bowls, a couple of bowls every year, which is lovely. And when I'm doing shows and I meet them in other cities, they go, oh, wait a minute, here, take these back to Paducah. Put them in.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
It's so cool. And that accounts for maybe 5% of the bowls that we have. We have partnered with the Paducah School of Art and Design.
Part of this campus.
Part of this campus, right. And over the years, we bring to the campus something we call throwathons.
Mm-hmm.
And the campus here has got an amazing ceramics studio, the envy of much older advanced art schools. I tell you, it really is well set up. You guys won the lottery.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
We will set up with some people who know what they're doing, and on the throwing side of the studio, we've got people who can show people how to throw. And on the hand building side, we've developed a really simple system to allow people to succeed in hand making a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got teams of teachers on both sides, and the public comes in, and in a good year, we'll end up with almost 400 bowls.
Oh, wow.
From the Paducah School of Art. Now we bring the clay in and all that sort of stuff, so we don't impact the school negatively in that way.
Right.
But they've got staff that show up, and they open their doors. We really appreciate their being a host.
Has it been a lot nicer since the new art schools come to be, since the old location? Like, did getting the bigger campus make a difference?
We never even attempted this at the old location.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where did you do it in a different location altogether, or?
In our studio.
Oh, wow, at Terra Cottage.
Yeah, our whole thing started in our little studio.
And now you do it with us here at the Paducah School of Art and Design. That's
right. So that accounts for. So after we do the throwathons, after all those are fired for the first time, we then have a glaze-a-thon, and we go back to the school and we have a bunch of people and they dip it in the colors, and
Yeah, how do you just get to do, so say I wanted to do it next year, could I just come next year and learn how to do that?
absolutely. And this is the first year that we've actually got a website. And so if you go to emptybowlspaducah.com, we'll have all sorts of information. And if you just watch Facebook, if you like the Facebook page and all that sort of stuff, we always tell people it's coming up. But the Glaze-a-thon is super fun because I don't know if you know this about the glaze that's on a mug or a cup or a bowl. It's actually a super thin layer of stained glass that expands and contracts at the same rate as the clay that's underneath it.
Well, I didn't know that.
So when you put the chemistry that melts into glass on the bowl, it looks terrible because it is not shiny. It is not the color you think it's going to be.
Right.
Right? And it only turns that color after you've put it in the kiln and
Oh, wow.
brought the temperature up to 2100 degrees. We're basically doing all the work and putting it inside a volcano and letting it sit there for a day.
And it changes color doing that.
Completely.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what makes it shiny, and all the bright colors come out and all that. Before that, it looks like someone splashed mud on it and then your
Oh,
cat
yeah, no.
had an accident.
I've seen them look like that before, like in pictures that you posted on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I've just never put that together. That's really cool, actually.
It is. It's fun.
So what if I decided, and I think I am going to do that next year if you'll have me. I know we'll get into all kinds of trouble, but if what all will I be doing? Like, walk me through how I would do that. So I would.
First of all, the most important thing is you show up.
I'll
If
be
you
there.
don't show up, nothing happens.
That's exactly right.
But when you show up, you get to decide whether you want to make a handmade bowl or a thrown bowl. And then you'll go to that side of the room. We have the portions of clay are already pre-cut for you. Don't have to struggle with any of that. If you're on the throwing side, someone who knows about throwing will stand with you at the wheel and show you how to center that clay, which is actually the hardest part of doing the whole thing. How to bring that into the center of the wheel.
It's like moving really fast, right? Is that?
No, not necessarily,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's spinning pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Yes, but everything starts with being centered, like so many things. So once it's centered, they'll show you how to open the ball of clay and how to pull it and how to bring up the sides and when to stop, when to take your hands away. And then we'll cut it off there, and then it's got to harden up before we can do the next thing. Super easy. But if you go on the hand building side, we've got something that are called hump molds. It's just a term for a mold that you put something on the top of.
Right.
Super easy. We've got pre-cut discs that are the right size. You'll grab a disc. I've got all sorts of pattern things that I've made. And you'll pattern your bowl
So that's why
however
they
you
look
want
like
it.
that. Okay.
And then you'll put it over the mold, and we'll show you how to change it from being a flat disc into a bowl, which is a gentle process. Clay is a 14-year-old girl. Did you know that?
I did not.
Clay is you can't tell her to do anything.
I think that applied to all of us probably at 14.
But if it's her idea, she'll jump into the project and bring amazing things to the forefront. So when you're changing the shape of clay,
Got to let them come to it.
you don't do it in a hurry. You do tiny little gestures, little suggestions, until it's all the clay's idea. And oh yeah, I meant to be just like this. I'm beautiful because of this, right? So that's what you do. So I've developed this specific technique over a period of years because I think it's important for people who are trying something for the first time to have a measure of success. If you try a thing and it's just too frustrating,
Oh, you'll walk away. Yeah.
you're going to be grumpy.
Yeah.
And you're going to walk away, and not only are you going to walk away from the thing you tried, but you're just going to push off from the whole thing. I don't want anything to do with empty bowls.
That was called me learning how to play the guitar.
There you go. Yeah. So, so we've developed some nice techniques that really allows someone who's never been near it to succeed and succeed well.
Yeah.
So the other part of that is that it introduces people to the School of Art,
It does. Yeah.
right? A lot of times people are driving by these buildings and they're over there. Those are the buildings over there. And stuff happens over there. But by getting them in the door and letting them touch clay,
Don't want to become.
letting them succeed at this, then they're kind of like, I wonder if I could take an evening class with it. I wonder if I could take a, you know.
You might have a lot of kids that do it and want to keep doing it after school or whatever.
Well, more than that, we get a lot of adults
Really?
that
Yeah.
want to participate in the programs that are here. And that's part of my secret plan is to get the community involved with the art school.
Well, we're appreciative of that, no doubt.
So overall, when we do the math, probably 25% of the bowls that are at any year come from the throw-a-thons and the glaze-a-thons right here at Western Kentucky. And then the balance of the bowls are made at Terra Cottage Studios. So every year we make somewhere between 800 and 1,500 bowls
Oh, wow.
at the studio.
And so you just do that with whoever you've got on hand or the other folks on the team. And
Right, exactly. You know.
Well, I want to get to something I should have mentioned in the out front, which is the money that you've raised for this. You've raised over $200,000 for the community, right?
I'm not completely sure, but I think we're actually over $250,000 at this
Excellent.
point, going into this year. And one of the reasons that we finally ponied up and put together a website, and Victoria Terra,
Yes.
my charming partner, she created a charming website, but it allows people to donate all year, which is, you know, I think a good thing. And we've got so many generous people in Paducah. It's always humbling.
Yeah.
And we don't have Walmart writing us a $10,000 check.
It's like at Terra Coffee House, for example, who has a mug here, right? They have been sponsors before.
Right. So we have a couple of different ways that people sponsor. One of them is the restaurants, the fabulous restaurants in this town, who even when they're having trouble staffing their own facilities, will set up, you know, be at a table at the convention center and bring food and have people there and give away food for this project.
Yeah.
We usually have anywhere between 16 to 20 different restaurants that participate every year.
Artisan Kitchen, I remember being one of them too in the past, has been there.
You'll see Artisan Kitchen, you'll see Panera Bread, you'll see people like Kirchhoff's
Yeah.
is there, Etc. Coffee is there.
I think when you're at Papa John's, it was there one.
Papa John's
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
They've been there a number of years going. We've got a catering company
Yeah.
who comes, Fresh Foodies.
Yes.
Mindy
That's
Carroll.
Mindy Carroll, yeah.
She does a fabulous job. And I mean, she's not even a retail outlet, and here she is every year helping a project like this.
Absolutely.
So we've got that level of sponsorship, which is so important and so generous. And then we've got small accounting firms that send a check for $250, and we've got a window cleaner who writes a check for $150. We've got
Anybody who wants to donate can.
right, and
yeah.
families who've got resources are writing checks for $500, and then things. People like Paducah Bank has been an ongoing sponsor every year, and the Rotary Club.
Right.
I love it when the Rotary Club.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's that collection of small businesses that we all rely on
It's
every
everybody.
day.
Yeah.
And then they get together and they can give us a check.
And I want to ask before we run out of time. You used to have it in the winter, but now you do it in August, right? So what made the change happen?
Two things. One is the weather in February is terrible here.
It's yeah.
We have had
So cold.
ice storms. We have had floods. We have had near hurricane winds. And when the weatherman predicts these events, he looks at the calendar and says, "Oh, Empty Bowls is scheduled that weekend. Let's do it then."
That's right. No, it's Noah Bergeron's fault. That's exactly right.
So that has impacted our ability to do all sorts of things. And at the very, very beginning of our participation with the community kitchen, when I looked into the flow of how they can take care of our friends and neighbors, it was pretty much the middle end of February when all of the Christmas giving money ran out. So that's when they needed something to get them to when the farmers had extra food
Right.
and all that sort of stuff. So that's when we scheduled it, even with all of the weather events. But a couple of years ago, I had a conversation with Sally, and they're on a little bit of a better footing than they were when we started out together. And she recommended that we move it into the summer when the weather is reliable. I mean, it's hot,
Maybe bigger crowds.
right? But when I drove in today, it was 102 degrees
Yeah,
on
it's
my
not.
dashboard.
It's not cool.
However, the air conditioning at the convention center works just fine.
At the Julian Carroll Convention Center is where.
Exactly. So, so we found a time in August where it was late enough in August so that people were back from the lake and kids were just beginning school. So every weekend wasn't taken up with sporting events. And it's before every week something happens here in Paducah.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of
Yeah.
the beginning of that march of really interesting
Because it
events.
really starts like August 1st, so you're catching it right when everything gets going. No, I get it.
So it's usually the third or fourth week of August every year.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time, but
We're out of time.
we're out of time. My TV team will laugh at me because I have a tendency to be long-winded, as you've no doubt missed over the years. So, but I appreciate you so much for coming on. Empty Bowls is a great thing, and I go all the time. I've gone every year with the exception of the one where I was sick in the hospital. So,
Yeah.
but we're better, so we'll be back. But thank you again.
And I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to seeing you here.
Yes, absolutely. You'll be back to talk about Terra Cottage and some of the stuff you do there as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
That was my guest, Michael Terra, Terra Cottage, and founder of Empty Bowls Project Paducah. Thanks for watching. Join us next time.